morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Friday, October 31st, 2025. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Halloween. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame right now. You'll notice here currently inside day narrow range right now, just 40% of average range and a range of 30.5 points at the moment. The ES is currently trading just around the midpoint of the previous session's range. We had an outside day down yesterday, a little bit of a bump higher late in the day. Again, Apple, Amazon with earnings after the bell yesterday. We'll have Apple, Amazon, Coinbase, Strategy, Roku, Riot, all those reacting to earnings after the bell yesterday into today. But right now, another range for the week. Another 5-day range for the week. Last week we had a 4-day range right here and finished Friday higher. The week before that we had this 5-day range, super high volatility 5-day range following that Friday weakness, and we just continue to mark up. No matter what, it just continues to mark up. So again, this market remains quite bullish. Today it could be a bit back and forth since we are at the middle of the previous session's range. When you have a high range day and you close near the midpoint, it can suggest that you are inside of a trading range now. So basically, the previous session's high to yesterday's low, that's your trading range, and we can trade anywhere in here today and just kind of be back and forth, but with an upward bias given the current intensity of the short-term trend. So still an upward bias, range bound within the boundaries here as this thing builds up for additional movement up ahead. As we mentioned before, this Friday key range still points us higher to 70.72. So overall, if we pull back early next week, it could be a check mark continuation toward that target. All right, looking at the NQ here, let's take a look at the NQ. This one's trading currently 38% of ADR. This one closed the previous session right near the midpoint. This one also has a trading range that is now likely in play here over the last several days, still trending up at a big time clip. And you have that Friday range right there. That Friday range really points to a higher target here just above at the 26.6 zone. 26,600 is that target. The exact level is 26,617.5. So you're looking at about right here on the upside continuation up ahead from this key range. So any pullback early next week, say we pull back into 600, this could be a 600 to 600 move, 600 to 800 move, something like that, and we could complete that target up ahead. So right now, still inside the range bound with an upward bias as we finish out the week. Here's a look at crude oil. Let's bring up crude right here. This one is down marginally at the moment. We have a 3-day narrow range that is developed. This thing still needs 28 here, 59.28, to cement this new key range. So we had the impulse rally. We've pulled back, but we stopped just shy of getting those 59.28s. If we can get a little bit lower here, we get ourselves a new key range, and that key range will be significant to price action down the road. We could build out within it, but eventually expansion outside this key range will be important. We also have a 3-day compression here. If we make this 3 days right here, that 3-day range right here is very, very compressed. Look at it. You have a $1.38 over a 3-day basis right now. Obviously today is a developing day, 41% of average, and you could see a move that takes you somewhere north of 3.5 to 4 points of range over the next 3 days if this compression remains intact. So this thing building some energy. We need a little bit lower in order to get that key range, but building energy for the next big move. Here's a look at gold futures. Gold right now trading higher by 1/3%. We have a very narrow trading range that has developed over the last 3 days. Similar to what we've seen here, a downward bias at the moment. But the previous session finishing rather strong, finishing on the high end of the day's range. If you look here at this current price action right now, it's seen a little bit of a test at the previous session's high. This is something we talked about yesterday. If we're in a 3-day range, watch the high for a potential thrust reversal here as a reaction can bring you back into the range below, back into that midpoint, and maybe into 39.25. So keep an eye on this area. 40.40, 40.40, the big level right now being defended on an intraday basis at the moment after that high. So a little bit of absorption. Can it return prices back down toward the 39.80 zone? 39.80 is right around where the previous session's midpoint is, 39.83s. So looking for perhaps a rotation down. Now, keep in mind, if this thing's going to be bullish, any pullback here could lead to a checkmark continuation, especially if price starts to push back through the 40.50, 40.60 zone. So right now, still in this range. Again, are we about to bounce and get a new key range, or are we still looking for a strong low? It still appears we're looking for a strong low, but keeping an eye again on the top end of this range. Looking at the YM right now, the YM at the moment up about 0.25%, but very, very narrow price action overall. Let's bring this back down to a 3-day range here, and you'll see again 33% of average range, very narrow range here. We're inside the range for the week, again very similar to what we've seen over the last several weeks. We have that box, the week before we had this box, the week before that we had that box. They've gotten smaller and smaller as this thing has found upside strength here, but every single time we come down to the bottom end, that's a trap for the next push to the upside. So we could be looking for a continuation that takes us higher up ahead. This 5-day compression can also build up some energy for the next big move ahead, and is that a stretch next week to the upside? Again, very, very bullish market. You would need to really fail back at the key range high, back at these levels here, in order to open up some downside. Right now, any little pullback could be a tremendous continuation up ahead for next week as we build out this range. Looking at Bitcoin here, Bitcoin's up 3.5%, big time bounce back after yesterday's sell-off. Is this a bounce back that's going to lead to higher highs here, or at least a return back up? Or is this a deep pullback within a failing market at the moment? If this is a deep pullback, we could meet some resistance and we could turn back down. So again, we're inside this range right now between 103.745 and 116. That zone right there. And once we get out of that zone, there could be some big time movement here. Are we about to drop and go to the lower edge? Do we push to the top side and go hit new highs? That's the zone to watch right now. Downtrending market, a little bit of a pullback. If we start to give up the previous session's midpoint, or even the current day's midpoint, that could be indicative of some weakness. But right now, still in the range. Same thing with Ethereum here. This one with a big bounce back today, up 5% at the moment. Lost, what, 7% yesterday or so. It was quite the drop, at least on the lows of the day. Did bounce back here today, but still a downtrend here. Big time reaction here, still in the lower middle portion of this range, or lower half of this range. If this thing breaks again, there could be some significant movement up ahead. Which way are we going? Again, a big time digestive range here. A little bit of a rounded top developing here. Do we start to break through 3,600 and open up the downside? Or which way do we go here? Back up within the range to 4,800 as this thing continues to play out. So big time level here for Ethereum. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out here heading into the rest of the session. Happy Friday, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.